Guys, welcome to today's edition of Notre Dame Daily, and a great start to the week yesterday, sort of recapping what happened over the weekend, with the big news being Notre Dame getting the commit from three-star safety Nick Reddish. And again, this is a kid who's going to be fun to watch as he progresses throughout his career in South Bend. And Reddish is a great example of why I don't always fall in love with a player or dismiss a recruit based on the star ranking that they're given. Nick Reddish comes in as a three-star. It doesn't mean he's going to have as good or worse of a career as a five-star in, let's say, Will Black or fellow 26 recruit mate Joey O'Brien. It's about development. It's about getting the right pieces at the right time for a program. And I think Nick Reddish is going to be a good fit here. He's versatile, very quick, high IQ, and he can play defensive back, and you can move him around that field. So I thought that was a great get by the Irish over the weekend. And it was nice to start with the Monday program just to sort of recap and give my 2 cents on that. But I want to start today. The big news that really has gained some steam. Really, last night I was reading more about it and just talking to some friends in the know. By now, you've probably heard that Jake Retzlaff, the former quarterback at BYU, has withdrawn from the university to avoid what would have been a 6 or 7 game suspension for a violation of the school ethics code. So he's essentially a free agent. He's on the open market. We know Notre Dame has past experience with portal quarterbacks, but this is a bit different because Retzlaff's withdrawal from BYU now means he won't have to wait in the portal. Instead, he's free to go to any school with mutual interest prior to fall camp beginning in August. So it'll be interesting to watch how this develops. Notre Dame has been one of the schools mentioned to be in the mix here, or at least in the conversation. A couple SEC schools, I believe Georgia, has sort of removed themselves from this conversation as they don't see a fit here. From a player perspective, the stats aren't going to jump at you, but Retzlaff, very responsible with the football. 26 total touchdowns last year for the Cougars. He basically accounted for 70% of their offense, which is a nice stat that jumps off the page, but that's about it. From a Notre Dame perspective, while I've understood in the past that portal guys like Jack Cohn, who came here from Wisconsin, Sam Hartman from Wake Forest, and last year Riley Leonard via Duke, all had their fair share of success in South Bend, specifically Leonard, as we know. I don't know that a strong pursuit of Retzlaff here makes the most sense right now for Marcus Freeman and company. It would be irresponsible to dismiss the fact that all of these teams, these big power teams, the Power 4 guys want a veteran presence in a young quarterback room like Notre Dame will have this season. That's undeniable. And while many are going to probably feel more comfortable having that veteran presence, especially with the departure, obviously, of Steve Angeli to Syracuse, the focus from where I sit should be in fully trusting both C.J. Carr and Kenny Minchey and continuing to develop them. Whoever is the starter under center, snap one, August 31st in Miami, regardless of that, both are going to have a role on this team and on this offense and an impact on this offense. Marcus Freeman hasn't been quiet about discussing that. Carr profiles as a prolific passer who was a major recruit coming out of high school. Minchey has all the tools as well, big arm, mobility, high IQ. Across the board, this is a great 1-2 punch for Notre Dame, despite the fact that both will be rookies coming into this season, whoever the starter might be. And oh, by the way, Carr and Minchey are Freeman guys. He brought him here. He was the one who got him to South Bend. So while I don't want to totally dismiss this, it is my opinion. This is not fact. This is not set in stone gospel. That after 3 years of portal quarterbacks, which, yes, helped put this program under Marcus Freeman back on that proverbial map and put him on a track to greatness, I think the time is now to just go with your own. If you want to talk about a veteran presence, you've got him in Freeman, Mike Denbrock, and Coach Gino, the great QB coach who's really great at molding guys, relating to them, and getting the best out of them. We even saw that with the transfer guys. So this is not a knock on Jake Retzlaff. I just want to see Notre Dame focus on developing the guys that they have right now in that 1-2 punch of Minchey and Carr and Minchey, however you look at it. Not to mention, this late in the offseason with fall camp weeks away and the start of the regular season for the Irish less than 2 months away, Retzlaff more than likely wouldn't have the necessary time to secure a starting nod anyway. So you can preach the veteran stuff. I get it. I'm not going to argue with you. But as I've said, Denbrock, Gino, Freeman, develop these players. Everything's going to be fine. Let your coaches be that veteran presence. Notre Dame's going to do its due diligence. They always do. I'm just not sure that this is the best move right now. It's not a secret. It's not a surprise that Notre Dame would be in the mix here, with many feeling there is a potential fit, and given Notre Dame's track record via the portal. And while this certainly seems a bit different, obviously, we will see the developments here, again, with some SE schools outside of Georgia in the mix. I believe Oklahoma State was making some noise, Central Florida. There are interesting programs here linked to a guy who, regardless of where it is going to have a job. It's just an interesting time for when this is happening, and it all comes down to Retzlaff trying to avoid this suspension, withdraws from the school, so he is, your old school free agent here, and in the age of the portal and NIL and all that stuff, I think it's fair to use that term. We'll see what happens. From where I sit, my personal opinion, I don't think it's the greatest move to make this late with the season right around the corner. Let's see what Minchie have going. Continuing the freshman profiles, and I appreciate a lot of the comments I'm getting on these segments in the show, that you've been a fan of them, and you appreciate learning more about these guys. I'm going to continue to do them. We're focusing on offense now, day 2, with the 2025 freshman class, and today's profile player, Will Black, 6'7", 305 lineman from Ontario, played his high school ball at Choate Rosemary Hall in Connecticut, so from Canada to Connecticut. Consensus 5-star recruit. You know that. Top 5 player in the class overall, and the top offensive tackle in that 25 group. And he was easily the best player in the state of Connecticut his senior year of high school. Was a Navy All-American in 2025. Actually was a multi-sport athlete. And you love the ability for these kids to stay active and play different sports as well, just showcasing their passion and athleticism. Basketball and hockey in high school. And oh, by the way, honor roll kid. Committed to Notre Dame in December of 23, signed his letter of intent exactly 1 year later. But when you see the accolades on the field, that big frame at 6'7", 305, I mean, that screams day one player. And then he fits that mold of what Notre Dame looks for in its student athletes by being an honor roll kid. This is a nice fit, and it was a humongous get for Notre Dame to bring Will Black to South Bend. From a role perspective, going into his freshman season this upcoming year, as has been the case with some of the freshmen I've highlighted in the past, the role is fairly simple. He's going to be in the rotation on the offensive line. Now, he joins a talented group, but one that, again, has battled significant changes, and we've seen that even before camp and the start of the season in August. We know Charles Jagasaw is going to miss extended time for the second straight season, and something I didn't really dish on yesterday, and I probably should have, a handful of former Irish offensive linemen are gone via the transfer portal. Rocco Spindler is with the Cornhuskers in Nebraska. Pat Coogan, Sam Pendleton, Indiana, and Tennessee, respectively. So those were 3 big pieces a year ago that are now gone. And you talk about missing Jagasaw, so you kind of got to go jigsaw here a little bit. So the Irish are going to get an even closer look at what Will Black brings to the table in camp, beyond what they've even seen to this point. But it's obvious that they know what they have in the Canadian. Tough, incredible run blocking prowess. I would encourage you to watch his film. Tremendous mobility for his size, again, at 6'7", 300 plus, but lean. And someone who can play right away. But due to the aforementioned jockeying across the line, which I talked about yesterday and on previous shows, Joe Rudolph and company have begun the process of getting their offensive linemen comfortable playing different positions. And I think to that note is why some have floated the idea, and again, I'm not saying I agree or disagree with this, but it has been discussed and put out there. Even some friends of mine have put it in my brain here, of Will Black starting the season as the opening day left tackle, which would kick Anthony Knapp to the left of him at left guard. Completely out of the question, no. Is it going to happen? No. With a first-time starting quarterback, regardless of whether it's Carr or Minchie, it's a bit unrealistic, as good as Will Black is and as good as he's looked with that body and that ability coming in. That's a big ask, especially week 1 on the road against a longtime rival in Miami, who's going to come with physicality. The likelier scenario as a true freshman for Will Black this season is going to be as a rotational player, but an impactful one, and one who comes in for meaningful snaps as he elevates his game on the D1 level. I think that's fair to say. And for those of you who might not have had a chance to watch yesterday's show, a starting offensive line from left to right of Anthony Knapp at left tackle, Billy Schrouth next to him, center Ashton Craig, and then on the right side, Sullivan Absher and Emil Wagner wrapping it up as the right tackle, sits as the most likely starting group of 5 game 1. For guys like Black, the highly talked about Gerby Lambert, and another freshman in Matty Augustine, who I'll talk about in later shows, meaningful reps on the line are going to come as the season progresses. And with injuries capable of happening at any time, as we saw once again with Jagasaw, all of these guys, especially Will Black, who brings that tag of being a 5-star stud, are going to have to be ready to take on significant roles at a moment's notice. And again, Will Black is certainly, he might be the leader in the clubhouse when you talk about who's absolutely got to be ready to take on a significant role early on. It's Will Black. And that's why he's today's profile player. Just to wrap up, a little news on the recruiting trail for the 2026 class. We know Elijah Gold is going to officially announce his college decision in less than 2 weeks on the 26th of this month. And while Notre Dame still does remain the overwhelming favorite from everything you hear and read, nothing is set in stone until it's set in stone, right? So with Alabama, Oklahoma, Vatech still in the mix, Irish Nation has been keeping close tabs on the really good defensive tackle. His last campus visit was to South Bend on June 20th, as we know. We broke that down. And as discussed in past episodes, the visit was a resounding success. So should the 4-star, who had 61 tackles, 30 for loss, and 10 sacks for Sarasota Cardinal Mooney last year in Florida as a senior, elect to join Marcus Freeman's bunch, he's going to join a 26 D-line haul that already includes fellow defensive tackle Tiki Ola, and a pair of edge rushers from North Carolina, 4-star Ebenezer Iwatani, and another 5-star Rodney Dunham, who was one of the top players in the 26 group overall. You talk about now Evan Jacobson. Notre Dame, despite inking 2 tight ends and getting commits from 2 tight ends in this class, are still active in the pursuit of the tight end. It would be the 3rd, obviously, in this group. Those aforementioned commitments come from 3-star Preston Frizzell and 4-star Ian Premer, who was considered a top 3 tight end in the class. It's obviously not out of the question that Notre Dame would add the 3rd tight end. The goal was 2. They got it. And with the skill set Jacobson presents when it comes to strong hands, red zone reliability, and great speed and agility for someone with that 6'7", 220 frame, it does make sense. And he hasn't set an official date as of yet, but it's expected to come in the next couple of days and weeks this month in July. So we'll have to stay tuned for that. But again, you're looking at Notre Dame still a favorite for Elijah Golden and very much kicking the tires and active in the Evan Jacobson sweepstakes. So we will keep you abreast here on NDD. I'll do my best to stay on top of all of these things. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thank you for your continued following and subscribers. I really appreciate it. Looking forward to trekking forward with you. Just as a PSA here, for the next couple of weeks, we will be Monday through Friday, just for some scheduling reasons on my end. But once that season starts, August 31st, we'll start pumping out more of a 7-day programming schedule, including the weekends, because we want to be able to discuss all of the games that Notre Dame's going to play for this upcoming season, which again starts on the road in Miami, August 31st. Enjoy the rest of your day. I'll talk to you all tomorrow. And as always, go Irish.